Okay, had to do it twice. Welcome to the February 11th meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on February 7th, 2019 to the Hillsborough Beacon and the Courier News. May we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Harris?
Here.
Ms. Eldridge Howard?
Here.
Ms. Maroon?
Here.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Here.
Dr. Susan?
Here.
Ms. Stats?
Here.
Ms. Trujillo?
Here.
And Ms. Haas?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Okay. I'll first start with, I'll take a motion to approve the executive session minutes. And a second? So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion to approve regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? There were several corrections that were made during the day, so hopefully you all saw the corrected copy. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We accepted several pieces of correspondence, and those are so acknowledged. And the superintendent's report. We have a wonderful presentation today.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. In our continuing effort to showcase the great things that are going on throughout the district, tonight we have our friends from the Hillsborough Middle School is going to share with us some of the ways that our students are actually providing technology leadership in that school. Please join with me in welcoming to the podium the principal of Hillsborough Middle School, Dr. Joe Trapolsky.
Thank you, Dr. Schiff and members of the Board of Education. It's my pleasure this evening to be able to present to you our Certified Student Tech Assistance Program. We ask the students to gather right along. I want to get them all on camera. So last month, it was my privilege to be here to recognize one of our teachers as our Educational Services Professional of the Year. That was Mary Ellen Davis, our Computer Resource Specialist. And she does phenomenal things all around our school, but one of the programs that she launched this year involving many of our students is truly unique and very special and is serving not only our teachers but our students as well, not to mention these young people here this evening. So without me to tell you about it, I'd rather introduce our Computer Resource Specialist, Mrs. Davis, to tell you all about it, and then the students will share their part in it as well. So, Mrs. Davis?
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Davis, and as Dr. Trapolsky said, I'm a computer support teacher at the middle school, and I've been in this role for 5 years. My focus is on tech coaching, and I meet with teachers in order to help them with effective tech integration and also to achieve our district's technology goals. During these meetings, the teachers are always eager to try something new, and they often result in me going into the classroom to provide a demo lesson for the students. But then I leave, and the teacher is left with students trying to try a new tech tool on their own. So I wanted to find a way to incorporate some time of need assistance for the teachers once I've left the classroom. And this is how this program came to be. I wanted to include a student dimension into my tech coaching efforts so that the students would be able to provide assistance to their teacher as well as their peers in the classroom. My plan was to certify, and this is certified simply by me, nothing official through Google or BrainPop or anything, students in tools that are used frequently and also tools that we have district subscriptions for, such as BrainPop, Nearpod, Google Apps, Quizlet, VoiceThread. To start the program, I met with the 9 team teachers to get a list of recommended students who would exhibit the characteristics that are up on the screen. I was expecting to get maybe 1 or 2 names per team. I walked away with over 150 names. And that conversation with the team teachers was amazing. To hear them talk about these students as leaders and role models in their classroom, it was such an empowering conversation. So, after I had my list of over 150 students, I sent them all a survey to see if they were interested in the program, and I got 47 respondents that were interested in joining the program. Then I got to work, and I set up the program materials. I looked at the survey to see what the students would want to be certified in, and Todd McDonald, our district integration coordinator, created the badges for the program. And then we had an initial meeting, our one and only meeting of the year, where I talked to the interested students and gave them some information about the program. I explained the goals for the program and how the certification process would work. Each student would be required to complete a series of tasks for each tool that they were to receive certification in. And then it was up to them to work on this program asynchronously. They all can work at their own pace wherever they want. 24 hours after that meeting, I had 4 active kids and 7 badges already. And that was from a Friday afternoon until Saturday when I woke up the next day. I couldn't believe how quickly this program took off, and it hasn't stopped since. I've got 38 students active in the program, and they have earned a total of 204 badges to date. I'm so proud of what these kids have accomplished, and I'm so honored to be joined with so many of them tonight, and I would like to invite them up to the podium to share their experience.
Hi, my name is Hallie Hand. Hi, I'm Hallie Hand, and I'm on Team 8E. I play soccer and lacrosse, and I have a very strong interest in politics. I have 8 out of the 10 badges. My favorite tech tool to use is BrainPop, as it's very easy to use for all ages. But enough about me. I'm here to talk about how to find CSTA assignments on Google Classroom. I use Google Classroom for all of my classes. It is a very easy tool to use. If you direct your attention to the projector, you can see an example of a Google Classroom page for the CSTA assignments. Everything I need to earn a badge, such as documents, presentations, and links, are attached to the assignment as shown. This is where I go to find all of my assignments, not only for CSTA, but also for all of my classes. Thank you, and I will now pass it on to Joey.
Hi, my name is Joey Kazimbo, and I'm an 8th grader on Team 8E, and I have 8 badges. I enjoy playing soccer, and my favorite technology tool is Quizlet. To earn each badge, we have to complete a list of activities. To find the activities we need to complete, we can use the Google site, which is conveniently organized by each badge. There is one designated tab across the top of the website for each badge. When you click on a specific badge, you will be able to find the list of activities you have to do in order to earn that specific badge. For example, I wanted to earn the Quizlet badge, since it is a program I use many days in Spanish class. To find the activities needed in order to earn that badge, I simply clicked on the Quizlet tab on the top of the website, and it brought me to the page that is shown on the board. This page displays the badge name, the activities needed to earn the badge, and what the badge looks like. Google Sites is a tool that many of our teachers have used, so it is easy for us to navigate the website.
Hi, my name is Allison Lee, and I'm an 8th grader on Team 8D. In my free time, I like to read, and my dream job is to be a computer engineer. My favorite tech tool is VCarve because the software allows you to take an idea and bring it to life by carving it onto material such as wood. I have all 10 badges as well as the bonus Hour of Code badge. When submitting work, we use Screencastify to record ourselves completing the activities listed on the CSTA Google site. The webcam and microphone features are optional. Furthermore, we use Google Classroom to submit our work, and we copy and paste the link of the recording where it says Add Private Comment. Next, we turn in the assignment, and each tool has a separate assignment for you to submit a link, and this helps to keep us organized and on track. After Mrs. Davies sees that you submitted the assignment, she leaves a comment with either a short message or suggestion. CSTAs work at their own pace throughout the year. At first, all the badges are black and white. Once you are certified in an app, you earn a corresponding badge. This means that as you get certified in more apps, more badges are colored in. Mrs. Davies prints the badges, and we are called down to the tech hub during the morning announcements. The badge sheets fit right underneath the Chromebook case, and this way, when you're using your Chromebooks in a classroom, your teachers and peers can recognize that you are a CSTA and know which apps you can assist them with.
Hi, my name is Ishiko Dewan, and I'm in Pod 7A. I enjoy playing tennis and love to read in my free time. I was the first CSTA to earn all 10 of the student badges, and I also have the bonus badge. My favorite tech tool is Quizlet because it helps me create flashcards easily to study for tests and quizzes. All CSTAs have a personalized web page with a short bio on the CSTA website, which was written at the informational meeting by the students. The web page contains a picture, the name of the assistant, all the badges that they earned, and testimonials written by teachers and students, which are good things about the CSTA. On the webpage, there's also a list of students from specific pods so that someone can quickly look at who from what pod has earned which badge. When you scroll through the list of badges earned by the CSTAs, if you click on a student's name, their personalized webpage opens up. Having a CSTA webpage helps keep things organized and on task.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anvesh Palmori, and I'm on Team 7E, which is 7th grade. And I love solving math problems, and I also love to read for fun. And as a CSTA, my favorite tech tool is Quizlet because it allows me to memorize terms and create flashcards. And I enjoy being part of a CSTA, which is also one of the main reasons why I am one of the only CSTAs to have all 10 badges and the bonus badge. The purpose of being in this program is to help the school community, both students and teachers alike. And after you help someone out, by using a Google form, non-CSTA members can using a few sentences, thank a CSTA by these few sentences of encouragement that a non-CSTA member gave will be added onto the tech member's personalized webpage under the section Testimonials. That way, a CSTA that has multiple testimonials can gain more support as well as more confidence into getting a classroom community to become more tech-friendly.
Hi, my name is Elliot Tanowski. I am on Team 7A, and I have all the 10 badges plus the bonus badge, and I earned the main 10 badges the fastest out of all the CSTAs. Some of my hobbies include swimming, reading, and doing logic puzzles. My favorite tech tool is Quizlet because it is an extremely efficient way to memorize things. To recommend a student to become a CSTA, it's simple. You just need to go to the CSTA website, and on the home page there's a link to a Google form where you can recommend someone who you think is eligible. I was recommended by fellow CSTA Frederick Park, and then I recommended 7 other people, 3 of which are currently active CSTAs. Personally, I recommend people who I think are capable of the position or are interested in the program and they want to try it.
Are they not the coolest in the school? Yes. All future engineers and scientists themselves. So looking forward to the future, this idea of certifying students, while it began in our tech program, we're actually considering it for other peer leaders within our school. We've got many peer leadership programs, students who are trained in our anti-bullying programs and this is our Pride group. They go out and deliver lessons to students at the elementary schools, but also within our school. We also have students that are trained in anti-drug and substance abuse awareness programs. This is our AWARE group. and they also do programs throughout the school. We recognize that those students should also perhaps be earning badges as well that they can display and be a peer support when a student is a victim of or witness to a bullying incident or harassment, or come in contact with a substance abuse situation that may be either a peer or family or anywhere in our community, that their peers know that there's someone that they can go to as well who have been specially trained and are there to stand up for them as well. So this mentoring program is something we're looking to expand going forward. I want to thank, once again, Mrs. Davis for all of your work with this program. It would not happen without you. Well done, Mrs. Davis. And to all of our students, once again, thank you all very, very much, and thank you all for your kind attention, too.
Thank you very much to Dr. Trabolsky and Mrs. Davis and all of our student tech assistants. You've done a great job, and what poise and how articulate it is to be able to speak in front of hundreds of people like that. Really great job. Let's give them another round of applause. At this time, we'd like to shift gears and talk a little bit about our referendum that's coming up on March 12th. This referendum is really for two purposes. One is to ensure financial stability for the short term as well as the long term in Hillsborough Township Public Schools, as well as to provide a new program here, full-day kindergarten. And tonight we have a variety of early childhood educators and administrators here tonight to talk with us about the value that full-day kindergarten can add to the instructional program for the children of Hillsborough Township. And here, it looks like we're going to be starting with our supervisor of language arts literacy, Ms. Sheila Cooper. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let me also introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Lisa Antunes, who I believe will introduce everyone else. Thank you.
Good evening. So, boy, that's going to be a tough act to follow, but everybody stood for them, so everybody's going to stand for you guys too, okay? So good evening. We're happy to be here this evening to speak with you about the importance of full-day kindergarten. Now, we know that some may believe there are no benefits to shifting to a full-day program and that students eventually catch up. I'm not going to reiterate all of the research that all of the teachers did for the strategic planning. However, that is on the website if anybody's interested. And I'd like to guide you to the New Jersey Department of Education website that outlines nonpartisan research, which is typically utilized to develop policy for the state. It truly was a pleasure working with Dr. Milady, Ms. Cooper, and the teachers. We did a lot of work, but we had a lot of fun doing it. And we actually laughed and said we should probably set the night up like centers so that everybody could actually experience what kindergarten ought to be like. So without further ado, Ms. Cooper.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Sheila Cooper. I am the proud District K-12 English Language Arts Supervisor. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers this evening. First, we have Shauna Guzzi, who has taught kindergarten at Hillsborough for 20 years. She currently teaches at Hillsborough Elementary School. Next, we have Kelly Marion, who has also taught kindergarten and currently teaches first grade. Did you wave? I did. Okay, good girl. At Amsterdam Elementary School, and she's been with us for 14 years. Next, I'm happy to introduce Diana Nork. She is a kindergarten teacher at Hillsborough Elementary. Did you wave? Okay. And has been with the district for 5 years. And finally, we have Allison Scobo. Thank you. Currently working as an academic support teacher at Amsterdam Elementary, and she is a former kindergarten teacher and has been with our district for 17 years. Thank you for your expert participation tonight.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Mary Ann Milady, and I'm the principal of Amsterdam Elementary School. And I also can proudly say that I was a kindergarten teacher in Hillsborough Township Public Schools. I taught in 4 of the elementary schools. I think there might be time for me to get to the other 2. I'll see if I can fit that in before I retire. Many people wonder, what is all the fuss about kindergarten? Why is it important? Why do we need it anyway? Most educators wonder the exact opposite. In this day and age, how can students function without it? Kindergarten is important because it's the foundation for future learning. Kindergarten means child's garden, a place for children to grow. Our job is to provide a sturdy foundation which plants the seeds in the best environment available, one for the children to grow and thrive. The purpose of kindergarten is to teach children a rich, meaningful, and balanced curriculum of skills that encourages children to want to learn more. More importantly, we need to give children the skills they need to function in school and life. We need to teach them routines, how to communicate, problem solve, and learn the skills necessary to navigate everyday events. One could argue that everything you really need to know, you learned in kindergarten. It is the numbers that really tell the story. I'm just going to give you a minute to look and wonder. While you are wondering, please keep in mind that in a recent longitudinal study, it was found that kindergarten teachers had much higher expectations of their students in 2010 than teachers had of their students in 1998. There are 17 districts in Somerset County, only 3 without full-day kindergarten: Hillsborough, Bridgewater, and Montgomery. My underlying question is, what are the students of Hillsborough missing which will afford them the best education possible? They have to be missing something, even if it's time to practice. Our present 379 part-time kindergartners are not given the same opportunity and attention as 81,323 other 5-year-olds in the state of New Jersey. I'd like to introduce Shauna.
Good evening. I've had the fortune of working as a kindergarten teacher in the Hillsborough district for the last 20 years. As you can imagine, I have seen quite a bit of change in kindergarten over the last 20 years. Before we talk about that, I want you to think back for a moment about your own kindergarten experience. You probably sang your ABCs, learned how to write your name, practiced counting, and learned the Pledge of Allegiance. You likely spent quite a bit of your day playing with your friends and learning how to cooperate, take turns, get along, and even problem solve. There's a chance you also had a rest time or a nap time. This is generally what kindergarten looked like when I was in kindergarten, which was clearly more than 20 years ago. It was the norm for kindergarten to be a half-day program then. Fast forward to me teaching kindergarten in 1998. We were more developmental then. Of course, we taught the children how to write their name, sing the ABCs, count in different ways. We taught the colors, coloring in the lines, cutting, gluing, all the basic skills needed to be ready for school and to function well in school. Centers were carefully thought out so that the students would have the opportunity to learn through discovery and exploration. Even more, they had the opportunity to socialize. The students had the opportunity to practice the skills that we were learning in school each day, and this was often demonstrated during center time. There was movement around the room and learning taking place as I listened into conversations and intervened to help with a skill or to help solve a problem. Most days, we even had time to burn some energy by playing on the playground or playing games outside. Now fast forward 20 years. The pace has changed. The curriculum has been developed in every subject area to offer our children a challenging and enriching experience. The expectations have become rigorous, and yet we still only offer the students a 2-hour and 47-minute day. My friend and colleague Diana Norick will describe what a typical kindergarten classroom looks like now.
Good evening. Kindergarten today looks like first grade a decade ago. The classroom walls are covered in anchor charts that the children reference during the day. We have anchor charts that explain the writing process, math strategies, not to mention a word wall that will include 65 sight words by the end of the year. The shelves are filled with leveled books, book bins, Chromebooks, and math manipulatives. Many of us do not have a sand table, water table, puppet center, or dress-up area. In fact, the toys that I do have are rarely used because there's just not enough time for free play or even social time for that matter. By the end of kindergarten, our students are expected to read at a 1G reading level. With guided reading groups only twice every 6 days, these demands are very hard to achieve. Back then, kindergarten teachers selected books for pleasure. Today, we are given a list of books to read for a purpose. Our students may be asked to retell parts of a story in their own words or create pictures in their minds while listening to a story. They answer a series of comprehension questions, make connections to their own lives, and talk about their wonderings. I remember when I was in kindergarten, we created a lot of class books. We drew simple pictures, and our teacher wrote our thoughts under our illustrations. Today, not only are the children expected to write stories independently, they are expected to write a story with a beginning, middle, and end about their lives. They are taught to stretch out words by writing the sounds they hear, put spaces between their words, add punctuation, and put a capital letter at the start of every sentence. They include the characters, setting, a feeling, and even speech bubbles. How can we expect so much from our little 5- and 6-year-olds when they only have writing instruction twice a week for about 10 to 15 minutes? Math in a kindergarten classroom today is not just counting and identifying shapes. The children solve number stories by justifying their thinking, compose and decompose numbers in different ways, read and write 2-digit numbers, understand how to use a 10 frame, just to name a few. Our phonics instruction has shifted from simply identifying uppercase and lowercase letters. Today, our students not only learn their letters and sounds, they're also expected to tap out and blend words, read sight words, recognize words that rhyme, identify the beginning and ending sounds in words, and understand the parts of a sentence. This is a 2.5-hour kindergarten schedule as suggested from the Department of Ed. This schedule is very different from our schedule. In this schedule, there is time for project work, sharing, and choice time, which our students have very limited time for. As soon as our little ones arrive in the morning, they move through a very fast-paced schedule with barely any downtime. It is exhausting. There is very limited time in our day for free play, if at all. The question I get asked each and every year by my students the first week of school is, "Mrs. Norick, when is it playtime?" It breaks my heart when I have to explain why we don't have playtime in kindergarten. In fact, many teachers will incorporate playtime into their behavior management system where playtime is earned. Let me take you through my typical half-day kindergarten day, which is exactly 2 hours and 47 minutes. The children begin by unpacking and starting their morning work. Morning work in a half-day kindergarten program typically is anything the children didn't have enough time to finish the day before. Next, it is time for morning meeting. During this time, we move through different calendar activities. This takes approximately 5 to 10 minutes. Now it is time for Foundations. This program is designed for a full-day program, so we have to pick and choose what we want to focus on. We spend about 15 to 20 minutes on phonics instruction. After Foundations, it is time for Science or Social Studies. There is limited time in our day for both subjects. Teaching a half-day program means getting creative and incorporating science or social studies into your morning meeting, morning messages, math lessons, and literacy lessons where they fit in. Unfortunately, there is very little time for students to participate in science experiments. Instead, teachers will often demonstrate the experiment whole class without the children having any hands-on exploration. For social studies, a simple book and possibly a short video clip is all we have time for, about 10 minutes. Now it is time for guided reading or specials. Depending on the day, the children either go to their 40-minute special or work through learning-based centers while the teacher works with small guided reading groups. During learning centers, the children get the opportunity to play various math games, practice letter formation, and work on skills that reinforce what was taught in class. I find that when I'm planning my learning centers for the week, a lot of math games I select are games that the children didn't have enough time to play during math time. Again, being creative and fitting things in where you can is what our job is all about. By this point, the children are starving. Finally, it is snack time. The children get their snacks, and after taking a few bites, you guessed it, it is already time to clean up. 10 minutes is barely enough time for the children to eat one snack. After snack, we have 15 to 20 minutes for math. Just like science, I find that during math time, there's a lot of teacher-directed instruction. We explain the concept, demonstrate the game, and look at the clock and panic because once again, there is limited time for the children to actually play the game. After math, we have 20 minutes left in our day for Making Meaning, which is our reading program, or Writer's Workshop. I usually teach reading twice a week, writing twice a week, and leave Fridays for anything I didn't get to. During reading, the students listen to stories, answer comprehension questions, make connections, and share their wonderings with a partner. During writing, the teacher teaches a short 10-minute mini lesson, and the children go back to their tables and work independently on their stories. By the time the children get their writing materials, they have about 5 to 10 minutes for writing. Many of them need that amount of time to even think of a story idea. Let's just say not a lot of productive writing occurs in 5 to 10 minutes. We made it to the end of the day. The children have 5 minutes to put their writing materials away, put their take-home folder in their backpack, and get their coats, gloves, hats, scarves, and backpacks on. It is a race against the clock. During this time, I am zipping coats, separating fingers and gloves, tying shoes, counting bodies, and walking my students out to their buses. This concludes my 2-hour and 47-minute day. Now let's hear from Renee Myers from Triangle School.
Full-day kindergarten can enhance the learning of our little ones because kindergarten, it's so rushed in a half-day program. We need the time. We can really have smaller groups and work, with them one-on-one more because of that time. There's no time. It's rush, 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 move, move, move from, subject to subject. And it's not fair to the children and it's not fair to the teachers because we need the gift of time in kindergarten. They need playtime. There's no time for playtime. So that social aspect is gone. But more importantly, the curriculum is for a full day program. So we are trying to squeeze in a curriculum for full day into this half day. And it virtually is impossible on some days. So, we're hurting the children by not giving them that time of learning and letting it sink in because it's so rushed.
This is a full-day kindergarten schedule as suggested by the Department of Education. Our full-day program would look a little different. We would also include the subject areas for social studies and science. If we had a full day in kindergarten, each of the activities I mentioned could actually be done every day. Our day would begin with the students' arrival, the children unpack and get ready for the day. We would then move into a morning meeting, likely including more activities to represent a responsive classroom. For example, the students would participate in greeting each other, sharing news, making positive statements, interacting and cooperating, all to build a positive classroom environment and community. We would continue with social studies. Here we learn our rules, what communities are, good character traits, as well as historic symbols, important holidays, traditions, and cultures of all people, just to name a few things. Next, it's time for foundations. We learn to identify letters, sounds, rhyming words, tapping and blending words, writing letters with correct formation, sight words, sentence structure, storytelling and retelling, etc. Then we would move into math. In math, we teach the children number representations, math symbols, adding, subtracting, composing and decomposing numbers, shapes, counting in multiple ways, measurement, height and weight, graphs, surveys, double-digit numbers, and so on. Now it would be time to break into our guided reading groups. Learning centers would also take place during this time. Here we teach specific reading skills to our children according to their individual reading level and needs. The other students would be engaged in learning centers. These learning centers reflect the skills being taught in each subject area. This gives our students time to practice the skills they have learned. The students would go to a 40-minute special, which would include art, physical education, music, world language, and library. After special, the students would be ready for a snack break. Now we would begin writer's workshop. The teacher teaches a mini lesson and sends the students off to work on their stories. They will have the opportunity to practice the skills that we're learning about. We would have the opportunity to confer with more students about their writing and run small skill-based groups to help improve and build upon their individual writing level. It's probably about time for a much-needed lunch and recess. Kindergartners would actually get the chance to play on the playground, something that they rarely get a chance to do in a half-day program. After recess, we would come back to the classroom and settle down into a show-and-tell time. What a wonderful opportunity for students to practice public speaking. We are now ready for Making Meaning and Reader's Workshop. We read stories with a purpose. We learn how to retell a story with detail. We learn how to visualize and wonder. We learn to work with partners and to share ideas and thoughts about stories. We learn to talk and listen to each other. All of this learning will make us hungry, so we will likely need to fit in another little snack break. Our brains are now ready for science. In science, we learn about measurement, senses, weather, living things, sunlight and energy, and motion and forces. We will have the time to do the experiments. We will learn to wonder about the how and the why, and we will have the time to actually think about the how and the why so that we actually understand the concept. Finally, it's center time. This is the time where the children can choose a center to play in. There are many centers to choose from: kitchen, construction, puppets, listening, writing, reading, math, sand, water, painting, art, music, games, building, as well as other dramatic play centers. Some may say that this is where the real magic happens. We would have the opportunity to observe all of the learning that is going on as the children practice and demonstrate the skills that they have learned while they play. Dismissal time is next, and it's time to send our little ones home. Please keep in mind we do most of these things on our half-days, in our half-day program. There are a few exceptions. We don't have lunch, we don't have recess, and sadly, we don't have center time. All of the subject areas I mentioned, we do now. We just don't do all of the subjects every day because there is not enough time. A full day will give us the opportunity to slow it down for our little ones. This is the beginning of their formal education. As you know, if you don't build a solid and strong foundation, it only makes it harder to continue to build upon. Our district now has an opportunity to build an even stronger foundation for our children. We won't have to pick and choose what we teach in each subject area. We can solidify school readiness skills. We can spend more time building a positive learning environment. Let's start these little people off on the right foot. Let's give them a chance to start off even stronger than they are now, instead of simply touching on a concept in each subject area. Give us the time to allow our children to explore each content area and practice the skills we are teaching. Even more important, give us the time that will allow us to help our children grow socially, emotionally, as well as academically. I can promise you, my colleagues and I will continue to make this program an awesome one. We will not disappoint. A little more time with our children will make a very big difference. Thank you.
Don't worry. As Dr. Antunes said, we will not review the research discussed for strategic planning. That research clearly defines the pros and cons of full versus half-day kindergarten programs. If interested, it is available for review on the district website. From all of the research, the one thing that was crystal clear was that the quality of the program had the strongest impact on student learning. That is what this evening is about. We are here to give you information so that you can decide what would constitute the highest quality program that we can offer for our 5-year-olds. Just take a minute to look at the minutes of a full-day kindergarten program versus a half-day kindergarten versus a full-day kindergarten. You can see that students in a full-day program spend over 20,000 minutes more in a classroom with a certified teacher in school every day than half-day students. Now, let's take a minute to hear from Catherine Satokis, kindergarten teacher at Amsterdam Elementary School. Please keep in mind that the day that this was taped, it was Crazy Hair Day.
Today's kindergarten is more than just ABCs, colors, and learning how to count. The expectations of kindergartners has grown significantly, and a half-day program for the children is just not enough to prepare them for first grade. Unfortunately, because our kindergarten places such rigorous expectations on the students, we're unable to focus on the foundational skills of socializing and learning through play due to lack of time. We are constricted to focus the 2.5 hours strictly on instructing the students on new academic skills. If a full day of kindergarten passes and we have the opportunity to work with the students, I believe we will see huge increases in the overall readiness of the students for first grade. Overall, I feel that upgrading to a full day kindergarten will change the students' outlook in innumerable ways. They will know that they are coming to learn, but they will also be having fun, and it will be a more interactive, memorable environment.
Benefits of a full-day kindergarten program. A full-day kindergarten program means more time to inquire and discover authentically. More breadth and depth in the instruction leads to more breadth and depth in the learning. It's also a matter of equity. Students who currently attend private kindergarten programs or who do not attend kindergarten may now be able to enroll in a full-day K program if this referendum passes. Therefore, we will get the opportunity to know these children earlier and develop those critical relationships that build a strong sense of community. The challenges do exist. Many of the struggles faced by our kindergarten teachers who teach a 2.5-hour program center around time and perception, scheduling issues, perception that a half-day program isn't as important, which can then lead to higher absentee rate in these classes. Differentiation and community building can also be affected by a half-day program. More time is needed. More time is needed to get to know our students and their families, to thoroughly assess our students, to remediate any gaps early, to accelerate concepts when it's appropriate, to offer individual inquiry opportunities, to develop the social emotional skills so vital in our students today, to develop fine and gross motor skills, and to master the pre-reading and pre-writing skills. That's personally my favorite, just saying.
Good evening. In my 17 years as an educator, I've seen more changes to what we teach students and how we instruct students than I can count. But one theory has always remained the same. Children learn best through play. We use the word play frequently, but what does it mean to learn through play? And more importantly, what would learning through play mean for our kindergarten students? Learning through play would mean increased opportunities for physical activity. This would include daily outdoor recess and more time for physical education, giving our students the opportunity to develop their gross motor skills, such as running and jumping, while also developing social skills. We know that physical activity benefits cognitive functioning. So when you see children at play, they are not just exercising their muscles. They are strengthening the parts of the brain where speech develops, where learning new information occurs, and where memorization of that information occurs. Learning through play means enhanced sensory development. We could break out the sand and water tables again. We could use finger paints and Play-Doh. Sensory play supports language development, cognitive growth, problem-solving skills, social interaction, and motor skills. I've watched tiny hands that struggle with letter formation when using pencil and paper take a sand tray and trace a perfect letter A with a smile on their face. Learning through play means greater exploration of creative expression. Smocks would no longer sit in a crate collecting dust. There would be time for crafts that connect curriculum content with art. Empty copy paper boxes could become rocket ships, reading nooks, or anything their amazing little minds can think of. All of these, combined with academics, would foster a balanced development of physical, cognitive, social, and emotional growth. In a perfect world, a full day of play-based learning would be enough to prepare our students for what lies ahead in first grade and beyond. However, the reality is that curriculum has become more rigorous for students across the board, including kindergarten. The content students are introduced to in kindergarten becomes the building blocks for their future learning. A full-day program would allow for increased opportunities for early intervention. Our kindergarten students come to us from a multitude of preschools, therefore with many different levels of preparedness. Some of our students enter kindergarten with no preschool experience at all. Kindergarten is a critical year to identify and remediate gaps in basic skills, such as letter naming, letter formation, number recognition, counting, and many more. We need a full day so that we can offer our students increased opportunities for differentiation and small group or individual instruction. In the 2 hours and 47 minutes we have with our current kindergarten students, there is minimal time for remediation or enrichment. This leads to mostly whole group instruction with a much larger student-to-teacher ratio than a small group would allow for. A full day would offer ample time for consistent, focused, small group and individualized instruction across the curriculum. And last but most certainly not least, a full day program would allow us to pace the implementation of our current curriculum with a more developmentally appropriate timeline. Our youngest learners in Hillsborough enter kindergarten at just 4 years, 11 months old. It is simply not realistic to expect students between 4 and 6 years old to just power through their school day. And now we are going to hear from Haley Rizzoli, a kindergarten teacher at Sunnymead Elementary School.
As a kindergarten teacher, participating in full-day kindergarten will ease the transition to first grade, helping children adapt more to the demands of a 6-hour school day. Also, a longer school day will offer more flexibility and more time to do activities that we don't normally get to do in a half-day program.
So now I'm going to ask you to do something that your kindergarten teacher probably asked you to do many times. Use your imagination. Imagine that tomorrow you arrived at your workplace and your employer told you that you would need to perform all of your current responsibilities, but in half the time. How would you feel? Would you be anxious, stressed, would you be able to do your job with the same level of success that you do now? No more lunch break, by the way, since you're not there all day. You will get about 5 minutes, 10 if you're lucky, to gobble down a snack, but then it's right back to work. At some point, you'll probably be wishing for a few minutes to stretch your legs and maybe get outside for some fresh air. But your 2-hour and 47-minute workday is ticking away, so there's simply not enough time for that break. This is what we are asking of our youngest learners. We instruct them using a curriculum designed for a full-day program, but offer them half the time to absorb the curriculum. They then move on to first grade, where an equally rigorous full day awaits. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Kelly Maring, to talk to you more about first grade.
Good evening, everyone. As a first grade teacher and someone who has also taught a half-day kindergarten program, I feel there are many ways a full-day kindergarten will prepare children for first grade and beyond. One way children would benefit is in the area of school readiness skills. A full day would allow students more time to get to know how school works. They will have more opportunities for learning independence, school routines and procedures, following multi-step directions, developing a physical stamina for school, and to practice active listening skills amongst children of their age. This is a benefit because teachers won't have to take as much time in first grade to teach these skills as the students will already be very familiar with them. Another area is in a child's ability to work cooperatively. We believe if students have more opportunities for learning skills such as sharing and taking turns, that when they come to first grade and beyond, there would be less time other teachers would need to focus on teaching these very important life skills. When we have to take the time to teach these skills in first grade or to intervene frequently because children haven't had the exposure or practice with them, it takes away from student learning time in first grade. With more time in kindergarten to focus on teaching students what cooperative learning looks and sounds like, we believe first graders will be more equipped to handle conflicts with peers and work in cooperative groups, which we do frequently in first grade. In addition to a child's social and emotional growth is, of course, their academic growth. Some of you may have heard the saying, kindergarten is the new first grade is the new second grade, etc. There's a reason for this. It is because in recent years, there has been an increase in the academic rigor and expectation for students across the grades. It is our belief that if our kindergartners have more time with consistent daily instruction in their day to bring foundational skills, letter naming, sound recognition, rhyming, beginning reader skills, and number sense skills, just to name a few, to mastery, that they will have the tools that teachers in first grade and beyond can build upon. Lastly, we also want to be able to get to know the students as learners the best we can. This requires the time to do so. With a half-day program, students may not have the opportunity to get to mastery with their foundational skills. As teachers, we know the importance of early interventions. Kindergarten, first and second grade are the years that children are learning to read. At third grade, it shifts to reading to learn. It is our belief that if we catch students early who are struggling to master these very crucial foundational skills and have more time to provide early targeted instruction, that as they continue through the grades, that they will not need these interventions. If in kindergarten, students get more opportunities for that consistent daily instruction, we believe it will help them be more prepared for the demands of a very academic first grade. So what are the challenges of a half-day kindergarten program in first grade? With the half-day program that our district currently has, the job of a first grade teacher can be challenging. It can be challenging because when students come to us and are still learning about school readiness and cooperative learning, we often have to take time away from student learning to address these skills. Currently, first grade standards are written based on the ideas that children have completed a full-day kindergarten program. It can be very challenging getting students caught up on securing foundational skills from kindergarten while at the same time teaching them new skills that are in the first grade curriculum. Not only is it challenging for teachers, but it's also stressful for the little 6- and 7-year-olds that we're teaching. If children have the opportunity to secure their social, emotional, and academic skills with more time in kindergarten, we truly feel our students will be well on their way to being future readers, authors, scientists, and historians.
More time to play.
More time to grow.
More time to learn. More time for fun.
More time for anything.
Very impressive and a wonderful presentation. Let's hear another round of applause for our kindergarten, early childhood educators. Before I open up the floor for board questions, we just heard a wonderful presentation about the value that full-day kindergarten adds to the instructional program. But we've also been talking about the effect of full-day kindergarten on our state aid. Now, as many of you know, we're going to be losing about $5.3 million over the next 6 years. So what we did was we put a chart together just to show you what we anticipate our state aid will be over the next 6 years, comparing the full-day kindergarten program to the half-day kindergarten program. See, our state aid is calculated based upon a per-pupil expenditure, but half-day kindergarten children are counted as half a child, not a full child. So within a full-day kindergarten program, it actually affects our state aid. So when we take a look at the difference between what we anticipate our state aid will be with full-day K compared to without, you can see that that first year, there is no difference. And the reason is it actually skips a year. Our state aid is based upon our student count from the prior year. So it skips a year. But you can see that each and every year after that, there's actually less reduction, basically, if we had full-day K. Now this general fund tax levy increase, which is the referendum, is for $8 million. $3 million of which is for full-day K, $5 million is for what we call financial stability. You can see that after the fourth year, the difference between our anticipated state aid with full-day versus our anticipated state aid with half-day is just above that amount. So there are financial reasons why we should also consider moving to full-day kindergarten, as well as the fact that it provides so much value to our earliest learners, as well as the fact that over a period of time that we've been talking about strategic planning, our community has expressed this as a major priority. So I just want to spend a little bit of time also talking about that particular issue as well. And at this point, I'd like to open it up for our board for questions of our kindergarten, first grade teachers, and our administrators. Any questions from the board?
Are there any questions?
Questions or comments? If you'd like to share your
Nobody else? Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment. As a math teacher of high school, I found a lot of value in anything that was hands-on. When I taught geometry, I would have hands-on materials, but I even called them toys. And that's when I really found a lot of value that were anything that my students discovered on their own through manipulatives, hands-on materials, it really stuck. And I think in kindergarten, you'd want to take advantage of their own natural eagerness and enthusiasm and passion for learning. And the best way to do that is in play-based kind of activities. But that takes a lot of time. I knew that as a math teacher, just so many times I could use discovery learning because that takes more time. And I really think there's so much value to use the time that a full day would provide for them so they can truly learn things that would stick and keep them from, hopefully keep their love for learning and capitalize on that. And this was posted recently on Facebook. This is a quote from Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. And so with that, combined with the added expectations for our kindergartners, I just think it's common sense to have a full-day kindergarten. So thank you.
So thank you very much for the report. Lots to think about, a little bit different than what was in the strategic plan regarding time with half-day kindergarten versus full-day kindergarten. One of the things that you did not really talk about today was the research, and that's where I kind of have a little bit of trouble trying to reconcile, because I agree with you. Full-day kindergarten sounds wonderful and fantastic with all the extra time that students would have. But when I heard about all the things in the curriculum that full-day kindergarten, or actually half-day kindergarten students are required to achieve in half the time, I felt very upset, like nervous about these 4 and 5-year-olds, maybe almost 6-year-olds, having to accomplish. So my question to you is, as I look into the high school years, because, so this is like at the very beginning of their career, and they have to accomplish all of this curriculum in half the time that other district students would have to do. Has there been any, and also just kind of caveating that with the high school students, there's a huge increase, or huge, I guess, compared to years ago, anxiety, depression. We just added a student assistance counselor last year, so now we have 3 at the high school. Given that our district is one of the few that have half-day kindergartens, you said that I believe 10% of the districts in New Jersey have half-day, so 90% have full-day. Is there research on the anxiety and depression, mental health issues in those districts? Are they less because their students had a better start with full-day kindergarten?
So, Jean, I'm going to take that one. So at this point, that's not something that we looked at for this presentation. When we talked with strategic planning, we talked about the increase in the number of mental health issues that teachers K-12 are seeing within the country, actually. And in fact, I believe we had some data about our students as well. So I'm not sure where it is on the long end when compared to districts who have full-day K. As a country, I believe, as a state, certainly, we are seeing an increase from our earliest learners through our young adults.
So it sounds that what you're saying is the research does not really have much to say on whether anxiety. Am I misunderstanding you, Dr.?
No, I'm saying I don't know that research at my fingertips is what I'm saying.
Do you think that there is that research? Because to me, the time aspect of half-day versus full-day kindergarten is very compelling. It is. I think that that's a very valid reason to consider full-day kindergarten. However, I would challenge and say that maybe the curriculum is not age appropriate. I mean, the things that the students were required to learn 20 years ago, why is it not good enough now? Is that the cause of the reason for our teenagers' anxiety? I don't understand. I don't know the answer to that, but what I do see is my daughter's a sophomore. I see her friends, a lot of anxiety over test taking, over what college they're going to go to, for what reason? Like, I don't understand what the purpose of that is. I thought schooling was supposed to educate students so that they could find what they wanted to become, not so that they could get into a name brand college. So that's my concern, is that Hillsborough, there are things that are outside of our control, such as the core curriculum for New Jersey, but I feel very, very strongly that full-day kindergarten it may address some things, but it may not address the overall larger problem.
Can I say something? I've taught half-day kindergarten, and I said this before. Everybody knows I've taught half-day kindergarten. I've observed full-day kindergarten because I was a principal as well. Anytime you're talking about anxiety would be with the half-day kindergarten, because all of that curriculum is pushed down in their throats in 2.5 hours. I don't see where you're going with this, but I do know that from my experiences and from the books that I've read, and especially after listening to this wonderful presentation, the students learn rituals and routines, quality of instruction is for the teachers. I just disagree. That's all I can say. I feel strongly about it. I have a passion about it. And for small children to have that curriculum, a full-day curriculum, why would they have standards in kindergarten then? The students would not be ready. They're getting a half of the curriculum in a half day. They're not ready.
So I guess where I was going with that, Mrs. Eldridge Howard, is to say that maybe Hillsborough ought to push back on the curriculum for kindergarten. I just don't think that that's age appropriate.
Judy.
So the curriculum is based upon the standards set by the state, and so that's what we follow.
Right, so I guess what I'm saying is that the standards that they're requiring for our 4 to 6-year-olds just seems too much for that age range.
Hey, Ms. Guzzi, would you mind?
What you're asking is something that I think is an issue that's happening in our entire country. When you're talking about dealing with those types of issues, we're talking, the state it mandates the curriculum that we have. So whether we can push back the curriculum in kindergarten, if that is what you would think would help the children, but that's not going to help them in first grade or second grade or third grade or fourth grade, because we're still expecting the same types of standards. So the full day would allow them allow us to help them do mindfulness and breathe through it and learn how to cope with some of those stresses. So that might actually be a benefit as opposed to a detriment to the children's mental health.
First off, a question, if I could, and Lisa, I realize I'm putting you on the spot for something that was not part of the research necessarily. 10 years ago, what was the percentage of full-day kindergarten?
I can look that up, I'm not sure.
The reason I ask is because we're talking about the level of anxiety and all the issues in high school right now. Well, the reality is those high school students were in kindergarten 10-ish years ago. So it'd be interesting to see the ones who are struggling with that now, how many of them actually did have full-day kindergarten? Mm-hmm. I think the other thing to take into account is as we look back, and we're all a few years removed from our kindergarten years, and in fact, a few years removed from our high school years, the world has changed a lot in terms of the workforce and the kind of work people do from 20 years ago or 30 or 40 years ago when some of us were in school and looking at what we were going to do with our lives. And I think the reality is when you look at the competition for jobs and the competition for college and the number of students as a percentage going to getting a 4-year degree as compared to 20 or 30 years ago, all those things are getting tougher. And so I think it's important that, when we look at this question of anxiety in our students in high school, two things about that. One, it's the pace of change in the world is going faster than the pace of our children as they're growing up to learn to deal with that, and I think that creates this. My personal belief is that that being the case, students who had a full-day kindergarten will be that much further ahead in learning to adjust to the change around them. And that's a big part of this is dealing with change. And so for kids coming into the school system who may have been in preschool or at home with their parents or whatever up to that point, that the sooner we can start to educate them, the better off we prepare them. The reality is, I'm not sure we're in a better place than we were 20 years ago, but the place we're in, we need to do a better job of getting our children ready for that. And from that perspective, I believe a full-day kindergarten helps us move in that direction.
Yes, Lorraine?
So I have no data, but I have anecdotal evidence. Just from my own experience, my kids, I'm a working mom, so I had my kids in full-day kindergarten. And then they entered Hillsborough schools at Triangle. And I saw differences between kids there who had attended full-day programs anywhere, not just at the YMCA where my kids attended, versus the kids who had attended half-day programs. And there was a lot of anxiety, I could say. I was a class mom for both my kids in first grade, so I was in the class a lot. I was also HSA president for 4 years of my time at Triangle, so I came into contact with a lot of first grade students during that period. And I do think that there is stress involved when there's a lack of equity with respect to experience coming into first grade. I don't think that you can take any one situation. So here I'm talking more as a scientist than as a mom, and project it 10 years into the future and say that that one experience would have such a huge impact on stress when you're a teenager. I think, personally, the biggest stress that teenagers have to face is actually something that they carry with them everywhere, their phones and the social media. In fact, I could tell you a story about a phone call I got from my daughter today from college, but I think that we have to really look at what we can do to help our students. And I think from speaking to the educators in the room and the evidence that I have witnessed myself, that there is a very good investment that we can make here in the futures of our children. And you know, the fact that 3 years in, the difference in cost between paying for, you know, the taxpayer paying for the program versus us getting actually a reduction in our reduction of state aid to actually cover the difference in costs in the program makes this an even wiser investment. And this isn't just an investment that we're making because we're trying to solve our financial problem. It is an investment that did grow from the grassroots of our community. And we heard it from people who just don't have babies who want to get out of paying for a full-day program. We heard it from people who, like Chris said, are in the workforce and realize that there is a change in the needs of our kids. And whatever we can do to better prepare them, I think there is sufficient evidence for us to make this investment. It's a 3-year investment on the part of the taxpayer before, like Dr. Schiff's chart showed, we actually benefit financially more than what the difference in the program costs. And in fact, that's actually kind of conservative because that includes the costs of the trailers year over year with installation and setup and then removal year over year, which of course we'd only do it once, whether or not we build schools or not. So I strongly support it. I'm passionate about it as well, Joyce, so I'm glad to hear that there are others on the board that share that. Thank you.
I would like to add to the comments that my esteemed Vice President just said. People need to look at kindergarten in terms of 2 words, value and investment. Our kids, when I see a schedule like this, and I know our teachers are doing everything they can to get everything done that they can, but when I saw what a full-day program would have, a couple of things caught my eye. One was the morning meeting, where kids can sit on a carpet, talk to each other, maybe do a little show and tell, if anybody remembers show and tell. And then the center activities, where the kids could choose that which is of greatest interest to them. And it's funny that Jane brought up Fred Rogers, because I stumbled this weekend on the documentary about Mr. Rogers. And back in the day, I used to be driven crazy by him because he spoke so slowly. But now, as a grandmother, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, kids today really need somebody to speak slowly to them. And that entire documentary was about how he could take an example of behavior and illustrate it for the children. You know, telling kids to be nice to each other, it's words. But when you have the time to speak slowly to a child and demonstrate that we treat everybody equally in this school district, we treat everybody equally in this class. We help each other. We try to be kind to each other. we help people who are unable to do everything that we are able to do. I don't see how you fit that in your schedule. I mean, I understand about math and English, and I have to state, we have an excellent curriculum in this district, and everything that is going on in our schools is age appropriate. But I think, you know, again, no expertise here, except God knows how many years as a mother and a stepmother and a grandmother. I've seen a class mother, also known to all the teachers in the audience as that overbearing mom who's always in our school. But honestly, I've seen tons of kids, and I really think kids need time. And I really think that kids need to be able to do things with each other than math, English, social studies, science, playing with a rabbit, building blocks. All of that stuff means something math-wise, right, Jean? And you learn about science by playing with, you know, gerbils and animals and fish and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not telling you guys what to do. You got it made. But this is what full-day kindergarten means to me. And again, I've had two stepsons and a son of my own go through the school system. The last one's over 10 years out. I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income. I am happy to pay for full-day kindergarten. And I really hope that the community will band together and recognize the value of this program and not think in terms of, well, I don't have a kid in the schools anymore, but to really be a cohesive community and do what's right for all of our kids. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. First, I just want to say, that the presentation tonight was excellent. It was top-notch, and I really implore the people of Hillsborough to watch it if they can, to see it. I think you can watch our meeting. Is there any other way to see the...
We're actually going to be sending out this video to the entire community.
Okay, great, because I thought it was superb, and I learned a lot from it, and really, it really summed it up well. Having said that, I think the board has done its job. I'm very proud to be able to put this question before the voters, but I don't know that we should be going back and forth about it anymore here.
We beat it to death.
Because we've done our job. So we'll put it out there. Let's do it. That's it.
Thank you, Greg. Great. Okay, can we move on? Yes?
With due respect to Mr. Gillette, I would like to just make one more comment and a proposal, actually. So, as I said, I did find the report tonight very compelling with respect to time. However, the research that was stated in the strategic plan was not mentioned at all. And I just wanted to point out, and this is where I'm trying to reconcile to myself what the presentation tonight means in light of what the report says, and the conclusions that the report say, to me, are not consistent with what the report itself has. And so I'll just read the first line of the introduction, which is page 29 of the strategic plan, and it just says, according to a report done by Hanover Research, 2010, there's no clear consensus regarding the long-term effects of a full-day kindergarten program among today's educators. That's the first line in the introduction. Much of the research in regards to the long-term academic achievements on this topic has come under scrutiny for insufficient controls and unreliable methodology. So given that, and yet I hear what my fellow board members, how important full-day kindergarten is to them, so I would like to remind my fellow board members that a referendum is actually not required to implement full-day kindergarten. So my proposal is that I believe that there's majority support on the board if full-day kindergarten is that important, I propose that we craft the 2019-20 budget, assuming that if the referendum fails or does not pass, that we would still implement full-day kindergarten for September 2019. That would show where our priorities are.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll move to public comment now. Are there any comments from the public?
Can this be action agenda too? Is this just this topic, action agenda, everything?
Yeah. Oh, actually,
I still have more to share. That may be part of the comment.
okay.
If you want to wait a moment,
What do you want me to do?
I would like to go through this.
Now? Okay. I'm sorry, for 1 minute. The superintendent has some comments he would like
Yeah,
to make.
this may actually inform some public comment. People may want to comment on this. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about the consequences of the March 12th referendum. As we know, this referendum is both full-day kindergarten and financial security. And the board is going through a very difficult process right now of developing a budget that would be basically reduced by $5 million. So remember, $3 million is for pre-K, the other $5 million is for financial stability. So what would happen if the referendum failed? Half-day kindergarten would remain unchanged, and then we would be reducing our current budget by about $5 million. What does that mean? The board is considering staff reductions, and this is important, of approximately 50 staff members. This is across all schools, all departments, all types of employees. Class sizes, as a result, will increase. We'll need to assess additional fees to our families, including increases in fees to technology, increased fees for co-curricular as well as athletics, commonly called as paid to play. We'll have to charge additional fees for building use also to generate additional revenues. We will also look at courtesy busing, and some of you may not realize that the board actually provides additional busing services for children that live within a particular distance from a school. But we'll be looking to see if there are opportunities to do courtesy busing or to eliminate some courtesy busing. The loss of programs and personnel will continue in future years as the state aid is reduced over the next 6 years. So as you recall on the chart that I just showed you, state aid doesn't remain the same. It will be reduced by $5.3 million over a period of 6 years. In fact, we'll be in the hole over $1 million each year after the second year for an additional 4 years, which means additional reductions after these reductions. All of this will have an impact on our ability to meet the individual needs of our students. Now, if the referendum passes, full-day kindergarten will begin at the beginning of next school year. We'll be doing the training, all the hiring, we'll get the furniture, we'll get the materials and supplies. It'll be a very exciting time to build that program into our curriculum and into the kids' experience for next year. Class sizes will remain unchanged. 50 staff positions will be saved. Technology fees will remain unchanged. There will be no pay-to-play fees. And courtesy busing will remain unchanged. And by the way, the future reductions will be eliminated for future years due to the change in state aid as a result of the full day versus half-day kindergarten. This will allow us to maintain the current quality of our programs and maintain our ability to meet the individual needs of our students. It'll provide for financial stability as well as full-day kindergarten. So it's important that the public understands what is at stake if the referendum fails and what is credited if the referendum passes. So I put that out there prior to public comment because that may inform some of the conversation. Mrs. Haas, I open it up for public commentary at this time.
Okay. Please state your name and address.
Yes,
You
good
know,
evening.
out of courtesy to all the people who are here, if we could keep our comments to 3 minutes apiece, that would be helpful.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do the best I can. Tom Isabelli, 9 Upper Neshannock Court. So let me preface this by saying a couple of things. So first, I am a 2012 graduate of the high school, and I was held back a year by my mother because of the cutoffs, and I was in TP. So let me just preface that and state that first off. So the presentation was great, and I don't have any problem with presenting a point of view. No problem whatsoever. Whether I agree with it or not, that's not the issue. The issue I have is, I was really actually kind of insulted that you would tell the public that we're supposed to remember from years and years ago their strategic plan, and that if we want to hear the opposing point of view, we can just go on the website, for which you'll provide the information, and we can read it there. I feel like in a public setting like this, before a referendum in, let's say, a little less than a month now, you're saying, well, you can just read it offline and online, which I appreciate that you're allowing us to do that and giving us that opportunity, giving us that ease of access. But I think at a public forum like this, you should present both sides of the issue. And I really was kind of disappointed that that was not at all addressed or pointed out here. I have a tough time stomaching the idea that we're going to keep asking folks to raise, keep raising their taxes because, costs of living goes up for everybody. So, it's not just an impact on teachers who may see the cost of their living go up because of healthcare costs and things that are obviously out of your all's control, but everyone else, a good number of other people are seeing their costs go up as well. So it's not like it makes it any easier for them to stomach paying, a couple $100 more, plus if the referendum with the high school passes this coming fall. I also found it kind of disheartening that if you don't support this referendum, the way I was getting, it's like you don't support the children, which is absolutely not true and farthest from the truth. I kind of got that indication because I'm leaning towards voting no. I don't support the children, which, again, being a student of the school district and having some of the teachers in the audience who actually taught me, which were great, loved my teachers, loved this district, kind of disappointed by that. And I will conclude with this. I felt like also those were scare tactics. If you vote no, all these awful things will happen. But if you vote yes, it's unicorns and rainbows and there's going to be no problem. I just don't believe that. And I wish we would just solely educate the voter on what the issue is and this referendum and nothing else. And I do agree with Mr. Gillette that you guys should stop talking about this. Put anything you want out online. You've done your job. Now it's time to just educate and not promote your point of view as to whether you support it or not. You've already done your job that way. You've already voted yes or no already. So just put out the information and let the voters decide from this point on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The only response that I would have is that this is not a scare tactic. This is actually what will happen. So if I could just make this point, it's very, very important that the public understands the implications here. It was just characterized as a scare tactic. I can tell you it is not. And these are the discussions that the board is having behind the scenes about what those reductions will look like. And it's very serious, very important business. I do want to address something else that the speaker said before. There will be people that will vote no on this referendum because financially this is very difficult. And we should be very sensitive to that. Not everyone's financial situation is the same, and this board does not have a tin ear to that. We have heard concerns about it. We have tried to put out a referendum that we feel is appropriate for this community to consider, and the board is not making the decision except for just asking the community to make the decision itself. So it's really in the hands of the community. And we are very sensitive to the issue of affordability. Absolutely.
Public comment?
Good evening. Henry Goodhue, Hillsborough Education Association, as well as Laurel Drive. I'm joined here by my fellow officers, Lynn Lenches-Durwood, First Vice President, Elena Mosser, Second Vice President, Amy Salinger, Treasurer, and Kitty Ward, Secretary. to announce the HEA's support of the March 12th referendum for full-day kindergarten and financial stability for our staff and students. Thank you.
Good evening. Alina Masseri, 466 Raider Boulevard, Hillsborough Education Association, second vice president. Good evening. I would like to begin by giving a sincere thanks to Kelly Mering, Allison Scobo, Diana Nork, and Shauna Guzzi for giving a fabulous presentation to the community tonight about the benefits of full-day kindergarten. Judy, in the interest of time, would you mind if I gave my committee report at this time?
Go right ahead.
I was unable to attend the second meeting in January when the teachers and education support professionals of the year of our district were honored, as well as the NJSCC Social Studies Educator of the Year and the NJDOE's Exemplary Elementary Educator of the Award. The Hillsborough Education Association is incredibly proud to call you all our colleagues, and each and every honor bestowed upon you is well-deserved. Recently, the members of the HEA held a food drive to restock the food pantry. We had an overwhelmingly generous response from all of our work sites. We have partnered with social services for many years, not just with restocking the food pantry, and look forward to working with them for many years to come. The staff at Hillsborough Elementary went red for the American Heart Association. They donated $190 to the American Heart Association. Also at Hillsborough Elementary, more than 20 staff members volunteered their time and helped at HES 30th annual Pick-Do Night. Staff members operated the boards, delivered prizes, and worked as callers on a Friday night in January. Over 15 baskets were auctioned off, which were donated by the generous staff of Hillsborough Elementary. Staff members offered lunch with the teacher and a friend, and to do an activity with the teacher and friend after school. As the finale to intramurals this year, students at Hillsborough Elementary played floor hockey against the staff. Over 18 staff members stayed after school to play against the 64th graders involved in the intramural program. And yes, the staff won. Teachers at Triangle School purchased over 50 gifts for seven senior citizens at Foothill Acres who do not have family in the area in order to fulfill their Christmas wish lists. The gifts were then delivered by current and retired Triangle staff in mid-December. Those same staff members also conducted a holiday program for all residents that included music, games, and prizes. During this week, businesses and organizations all throughout Hillsborough will be invited to participate in the Borough Pride Initiative. The initiative came out of discussions between the HEA, members of Central Office, the Board of Education, the Township Committee, police, and fire departments. Together, our goal is to highlight everything awesome that goes on in our community and to partner with the people who make it so great. We are very much looking forward to seeing where this initiative takes us and how it will grow throughout the rest of this year and years to come. I have window clings for each of you that I hope you will display, and more will be sent via inner office this week. Additional swag, magnets, and t-shirts will also be rolled out during future events. I would like to end by acknowledging and congratulating the teachers and support staffs of Hillsborough High School, Sunnymead Elementary, and Woods Road Elementary for their most recent rankings in the top 200 schools in New Jersey, as reported by Nietzsche. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't give a word of congratulations to all of our teachers. And all of our support staff in all of our schools. I know that regardless of a published ranking, that you all are a group of amazing, dedicated professionals who give unconditionally to the students of Hillsborough Township Public Schools every single day. With 60% of our staff working 2 or more jobs to stay afloat, it is beyond extraordinary what we accomplish. Imagine if collectively we didn't have to work so many jobs to make ends meet. Imagine the increase of morale and results in all of our buildings. I implore the members of the Board of Education to think about that each and every time you come across a member of the HEA who tirelessly works to ensure that the students of Hillsborough Township Public Schools enjoy success. We remain united, we remain engaged, we are the HEA.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I am relatively recently moved to the Hillsborough district, and I didn't grow up in this district. So I do work here, and I am a part of the community, but I don't yet have children growing up in the school system. So I do have a question that's more for my personal clarification. Maybe other parents are already familiar with, with the response to this, or maybe other people have the same inquiry. Now, as far as the referendum to increase to full-day kindergarten, a lot of parents I know, because I work with hundreds of families in my position, a lot of parents have alternative means of daycare for their children, including things like homeschooling and things, and putting their kids in different programs in YMCA, kindergarten, and things like that, because they have maybe a dual working household. So is it possible that regarding class sizes, that we actually could see a dramatic increase in class sizes if this becomes available to parents? And is there possibly a plan for that if that does happen?
We actually did a budget analysis with the assumption that we're going to have more than double. We're assuming about 550 or so children, which is probably more than what we're going to achieve at this point. But we actually held off on kindergarten registration until after the referendum. So we'll have a better sense of that, but we've budgeted for enough teachers in order to maintain the current class size of 22 max in a kindergarten class. It's also important to note that the board is contemplating a class size increase to 25 in kindergarten and first grade if the referendum fails.
Right. Okay. So and part of the now, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, the referendum is making room for an $8 million increase, although there's a $5 million deficiency. So part of that allows for a margin of error should we see a dramatic increase in enrollment.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other people out here who would like to speak? Any comments on any other item that's on the agenda? Okay, if not, I will turn the agenda over to the superintendent for the education.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education to approve travel and related expenses, field trip destinations, family math and science sessions, overnight field trip as listed.
May I have a motion for education items 9.1 through 9.4, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on any of the items under the education agenda? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Eldridge Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Dr. Susan?
Yes.
Ms. Stats?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
And Ms. Haas?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of human resources. Are you okay?
What? I'm sorry.
We couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Would you like me to continue?
Yes.
Okay, I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions that I'm recommending under the area of human resources. To approve the attached resolution, to also approve retirements and resignations as listed, including the retirement of Robin Rowand, who's our media specialist at Hillsborough Middle School, who has worked with us since September 1st of 1996. Karen Schwartz, physical education teacher at Woods Road School, who has been with us since 1987. And Magali Valenzano, who's an ASI teacher from Sunnymead, who has been with us since 1999. And we express on behalf of the Board of Education our sincere appreciation for your service to our district. Also approve the resignation as listed, to approve transfers and changes in assignments, revise long-term substitutes, revise science lab earnings, and to approve the leave of absence and the appointments of a long-term substitute, acting athletic site supervisor, and substitutes as attached, as well as pre-approval of extra period coverage, approval of extra period coverage, and approval of group changes.
Okay, and I would like to take this time to thank the, 4 or 5 members of the board who caught a decimal error in our agenda. It has been corrected. So anyway, I will take a motion and second for the HR agenda items 10.1 through 10.10, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Are there any questions or comments on anything under the HR agenda?
In addition to the decimal point, there was one other where the dollar amount seemed a little low. Was that, I know, I don't think that was able to be looked at before. It was the dollar amount, the hourly rate was under the minimum wage, and maybe that was just a typo also?
That was the decimal. I didn't.
No, there was, the decimal point was like, I think it was earlier on. There were 2 issues. I'll
Can
just
I ask
pull
for
it.
the board's consideration of moving it as is, and we'll make any correction and notify the board of any typo that will be adjusted in order to address the issue, rather than pulling it?
Okay.
Thank you. The record will reflect that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Take a roll call then.
Sure. Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Eldridge Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Dr. Sasan?
Yes.
Ms. Stats?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
And Ms. Haas?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations: to approve transportation contracts and to approve a change in date of a board meeting, and that's all.
Okay. I'll take a motion and second on operations agenda items 11.1 through 11.2.
So moved.
Okay, one of the second
Second.
item, oh, sorry, second. One of the items relates to changing our March 25th board meeting to March 18th. So.
Is there a reason? Can I ask a reason? Or can you give a reason?
The reason was
Yeah,
budget-related.
Yes, there was a change in the law on when the governor has to give his budget address. So it's typically the last Tuesday in February. It's now moving to the first Tuesday in March, which means that we can't approve a tentative budget prior to then. And our tentative budget was previously scheduled for March 5th, and now we'll need to approve it afterwards. And rather than wait until, I'm sorry, did I say?
You misspoke, but that's okay. March 4th.
March 4th, excuse me. Instead of waiting until the end of the month, we're suggesting moving up the second board meeting to that date. So we can't approve a tentative budget until after the state aid comes in.
So will we have a tentative budget prior to the March 12th referendum?
We will not unless we have a meeting on the 11th, which is the day before. So we won't get our state aid until the Thursday before the Tuesday of the referendum.
That's a big change.
And honestly, there is we have no control over that. It was something that was handled down in Trenton. We, in good faith, scheduled our tentative budget for March 5th, which would have been after the state aid notice came in. The law changed, and it was moved to the first meeting in March. And as a result, we'll need to change the schedule. We will need, of course, to speak with the community about what our assumptions will be, as we have done in the past on our state aid. I don't anticipate much of a change unless there is a super revenue enhancement that has come into the state coffers, which I don't believe there will be one.
Your lips to God's ears.
Yep, but we'll see.
Okay. Is everybody okay with this and clear? Okay, so we took a motion and a second. We can take a roll call then.
Sure, Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Eldridge Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Maroon?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Dr. Sasan?
Yes.
Ms. Stats?
Yes.
Ms. Trujillo?
Yes.
And Ms. Haas?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. We have
Some
some
information.
informational items.
Yep.
Do you want to go through that?
Just enrollments, fire, and crisis drills, as well as suspension reports for the board's review. Now we're ready for second public commentary, Madam President.
Yes. Oh. Yes. Second comments from the public on any business, old business, items outside of the agenda. Step right up.
Hi.
Hi.
Thought we were going to have a big crowd tonight for this. Very excited. My name is Nikki Gonzalez. I am, my affiliation is with Octopus Music School. I am the director of outreach for that school. I apologize, I'm going to be looking back and forth because as I was learning about the district, which is part of my new position here, I was taking notes, so I'm going to be back and forth. I want to talk to you about the role that our school, which is a privately held company, wants to play in our community and in the strengthening of our community. We came to Hillsborough about 2 years ago. We have a vision to build a stronger community and impart to kids and to families a gift of music, of the arts. We're eager to be in the company of our public sector teachers, those such as the ones who run the CSTA and the kindergarten teachers who are working to enhance learning through sensory involvement. We see a great correlation there, obviously, because of what we do, and we're very, very, very eager to collaborate with our school districts in Hillsborough, as we have even with other districts, to great success. We, as well, want to be in the company of our students who are high achieving. You, as the board members, have facilitated an excellent school district here that we're really proud of, and we're very proud to integrate into this community and to find a home here. And we want to help those students to reach even higher. Some of the ways that we can do that in a nutshell, because there's much to be said on arts education, but in a nutshell, among the litany of benefits of an artistic education, studies show that students who receive arts education they're showing superiority in critical thinking skills. They're scoring higher on SATs. They are better team collaborators, which we all know is an increasingly important skill as we prepare students for life, for the workforce. They are developing more acute language and reasoning skills. They have a better cognitive capacity to move around moving parts mentally. And they show improved memorization skills, hand-eye coordination. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I will stop it there, but there's so much to be said about the benefits of what we're hoping to accomplish here. Our music academy has a structure that creates sustainable jobs. We have teachers who've been with us for years and years and years, and they get raises, and they are taxpayers into the community and things like that. And so we have a sustainable structure. We're not looking to monopolize. We're looking to integrate and facilitate. So we've had incredible success collaborating with other school districts. Some of those are North Brunswick District. Some of those are the East Brunswick District, for example. We have some of the things we've done are our teachers, our faculty participating in collaborative performances and going in and doing guest seminars and things like that for the students. This is all for the students' benefit, and it is 100% free to the district. We have no interest in taking a cut of a budget or taxpayers' dollars or anything like that. Does that mean my time is up? Oh, I'm new here. I'm so sorry. So we have a niche in the special needs community as well. We have testimonials about students going from almost completely nonverbal to having improved verbal comprehension and communication and pronunciation and things like that. So what I am here for today is we have a goal to bring unique artistic opportunities to the school district. And I've reached out in various mediums, but I was directed to come here because the board approves when collaborations such as this are initiated in the school district. And we have many, many ideas we'd love to speak with you about. So I'd be happy to answer questions and stick around and speak. But I'm just here to get that conversation started. So thank you for your time and for letting me go a little over time. And I'll turn it back over to you.
That's all right. What I would suggest is that after the meeting, you can contact Dr. Lisa Antunes, who will probably connect you with our supervisor of fine and performing arts.
Okay.
And that would be a good contact for you to have a conversation.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Kitty Ward, HEA. What are we thinking tomorrow, Dr. Schiff? My people want to know.
People want to know. I can tell you that my phone is buzzing like nobody's business.
I can give you a rundown of all the schools.
Yes, I know. Well, I have them right here. So stay close to your phones.
Is everybody surrounding us closed already?
No.
Not yet, okay. All right, we're waiting for information. Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I probably should have said something earlier, but just a couple things that were bothering, that I wanted to address more regarding the kindergarten issue. Some people, and this was addressed about equity. Some people have said, well, those who want it, go ahead, have a full-day kindergarten, just pay for it yourself. But there are a significant number of members of our community that could not afford a full-day kindergarten. Full-day kindergarten, not daycare. Very different. Also, addressing what Mr. Hio was saying, I am concerned about, as well as a lot of experts in the field, are concerned about age-appropriate standards for, especially our younger children. A lot of people have expressed concerns for that. So I worry that we're complicit in, feeding that and satisfying something that might be inappropriate for our children. However, we are stuck with what the state has mandated for us. So that's why I am for the full-day kindergarten, so we don't add even more stress to our students. But as a separate thing, it would, whatever we can do to pursue trying to change those state standards for at least the younger children to be more age appropriate. I just wanted to say that.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jane. Okay, are there any other comments before we wrap up? We are going to have to go into executive session, so I'd like to read the statement and then ask for a motion. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975, provide that the public body may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting of which the public body discusses certain matters for which confidentiality is required as permitted in Section 7B of the Act. Resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Hillsborough and the County of Somerset and State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the matter to be discussed is negotiations with the Hillsborough Education Association. And 2, the matter discussed in executive session shall be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. May I have a motion and second to go into closed?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Second. Thank you, Joyce.
Just a clarification that no action will be taken.
Right, no action will be taken, and, everybody can go home. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're going into executive session. Good night. Thank you all for coming tonight.